Good morning everyone, and welcome to this presentation today on containerization. I hope everyone's doing fine, and thank you for making today to our class and Alamis. So, starting, what is containerization? How did it start? Anyone have any idea I would like to share? Containerization, well, is a system of standardized transport that use a common size of metal steel in order to transport goods. Does that make any sense? Not really. Let's go back a little bit to the history and see how they used to do it before. So before containerization, their good would be just like into bundles of items of good, which was unstructured and do not have a regular shape. So because they do not have a regular shape, in order to firmly store them, they was having issue of extreme labor-intensive hours work. They needed a lot of man in order to transfer the same amount of good, create inefficiencies. People could do something else rather than just assembling the good or just transporting it. Higher sort of cargo is a various size, like a jobbing or batch process. That would just add up onto the work task, where people would eventually not do it in a very efficient way. It was unpredictable. Imagine you wake up this morning, go to work, and your job is about to get the goods from the land, from the truck or the cart to the ship. And then, how do you do that? You do not have a planification because all the goods might be irregular size. So that would happen on the spot, how you actually align them. Based on that, the site that they will decide to come up with will decide how many shipments you will have to do, how many times you have to ship it over, how many sites it's going to require. So all that information will need to be there on the spot, which would take a lot of time. And then this guy, 24 years, a truck driver, Malcolm, he used to deliver truck in US from North Carolina, and then every day he would be paid on the amount of truckload that he was able to deliver to the port. So the more he could deliver to that port, the more of good he would deliver, the more money he would actually make. But he would mostly waste most of his time during the day waiting for the guys to unload his trucks and then reload it back on the ship. And that would frustrate him. So he returned back to his way and then cursing himself, 24 years guy, he has a lot of energy at that moment and he wants to do something more rather than just waiting in the truck all day long. So he said, why does it not just take the truck, put it on the ship and then drive it back on another line? And that was an awesome idea that came out of his frustration at that time. So that took him 2 years, exactly 1 year exactly to actually fire up the patent right on container. Container would be said as early, would be unstructured, would be just a metal box, which is made up of steel, and that would protect the good from any shock during the journey and would protect it. So exactly after 62 years, what happened to that idea that this guy had? Did the world really follow it? And what exactly today we are doing about it? Let's just watch a small video about how the world in a real time, I think it's from 2002, how the world actually looked from a satellite view. All these small particles, like particles, are actually actually a container traveling around the world at this moment, which is Tuesday, September 11, 2012. Well, then what happened 3 days later? And this is in real time actually, for that specific days. It's a journey of a container taken from the Gulf Coast Straits, across continent, and this point will be known as a port. They all having a factor in order to transfer the good or the logistic. This is actually the ship name. And this is a network of our shipment, real time. So to be honest, if we would be an alien looking at this planet, we would definitely consider that the most human effort, which is about moving things around. And we actually invest quite a lot in this process. Do you guys have any idea, anyone with a random figures who can come up with how much
This is the story of how one species
of the GDP, global GDP, actually transportation represents on Earth? That is actually 10% of the global GDP. Moving to our next slide. So, the benefit of containerization. After having a properly structured container now, which is protected, and what happened after that? Is it actually increase the work speed, reduce transportation costs, increase throughput time and rate, maximum special resources via a reduction in the waste and unused shipping space. You can actually pack more within the same space that you used to. Moving to the next slide. So let's all have some facts about containerization in this present day and this present time around the world. So the first one, this industry actually comprises of shipping, warehouse, courier, road, rail, and air. So its containerization now is transported by train, different locomotion, train, rail, and air. And it's not only the container that matters, it's about storing it, it's about a warehouse and a courier. Most of us order things online. You know that it actually takes us like 24 hours for some of the item to travel across the world and come here to us. A second one, it indicates here that is a logistic is $4 trillion, which represents 10% of the global GDP. Transporting sector is a fast growing 7% per annum since 2011. So it's still, we have like, it's giving us that that industry is keep on growing and still is going to grow. Transport sector alone expect to generate 3.8 trillion as revenue in 2006. So last year, $3.8 trillion was generated only by transportation. The United States currently account for over 42% of global transportation. So the most dominant country in transportation is USA. But we still have emerging markets such as China and India are expected to increase the influence of the global trade. It's predicted that the US alone will have 1.1 logistic job opening between 2013 and 2016. And who is going to take the credit of having more jobs in USA? Donald Trump. So now, what are the different methods of transportation? We are going to look at how do we travel on land, in air, on water. The first one, flight. Global revenue 117 billion. How we transport the cargo ship. After it came down during 2008 and 2013, world air flight is expected to average 4.8 annual growth. So even the fastest growing compared to the previous method of transportation, which is train and ship, the air flight is actually showing more promising side toward a potential growth rather than the rest. Air transport is used to carry 725 of all cargo between Europe and Asia. So everything from European, like developed country, they are using air method of transportation. And used to carry 48% of cargo between Europe and North America. World flight airfreight grew to expected to grow from 1,680 planes in 2013 to 2,730 in 2030, which is actually nearly the double the size. The size in less than 1 decade. Two decades. Airlines based in Europe, Asia, and North America account for over 80% of the total air flight. So Europe, Asia, and North America, they are dominating into the role of air cargo shipment. The average account for 1% of the global trade. It's not much. 1% of the global trade is transported by air. That's not much. But when we look to the value of it, it's actually 35%, which is a lot. So that shows that the precious goods is actually being transported by air, rather than expecting your mobile phone, I'm sure, being transported by cargo plane, rather than having in a ship with a high probability of the ship to be sank. The second mean, the sea freight. Global value over 54 billions. Measured in weight of goods transported to the maritime industry is larger than the air cargo. Yes, the network of the shipment is actually larger. Why? Because the sea is actually more accessible to certain different of countries such as Madagascar, which we believe there is not an airport there. Do we? I don't think so. So they would actually have a ship that would transport their commodity over there. She just gave me a -5 over there. And in 2013, 9.5 million tons was carried across the sea in comparison with 42 million tons by air. So the heavy machinery, pieces of equipment which weigh a lot, they actually go by ship. 80% of the world trade consists of raw material, bulk items which are not used to usually time sensitive, making shipment the best option. So if you do not have a space, tomorrow as a businessman, I'm sure all of us is going to roll into a business industry. And in that business, you do not have a storage facility. How do you actually store your raw material? So if you actually plan everything on time, you might just have the just-in-time shipment for that raw material there. Therefore, you do not have to invest into any storage facilities. If you're having like cold meat goods that requires special equipment, such as refrigerator, so you actually do not have to have a cold storage room, because your goods is going to fly just on the eve when you need it. Due to economic uncertainty, it is estimated that the world top 20 container ship companies has base loss of 6.5 million between 2008 and 2013. While 6.5 million seem to be a lot of loss. Is that it? Is it actually a big amount in that industry that making 3 trillion billions? You know how much fuel they consume just to cross for a ship to cross another is actually 7 to 6 million USD of fuel. It's used just to fuel the ship to travel. Moving on. Last was the road flight. Global value over 2 trillions of USD. Road transport carries over 8 billion tons kilometer per of goods per year globally. Big industry. In the modern economy, 85% of the road freight tonnage is carried over a distance of 150 kilometers or less, for which there is no economical variable alternative. So there are certain parts of the world that you have to use a truck in the jungle of your economy. Road freight grow in the highest in European country. It's more commonly to be used in the Europe, provided that directly related job for over 6.5 million people in the EU and over 9 million people in the USA. And that's actually, have any guys ever seen the Pop Up Your Ride? Pick Up Your Ride show. They used to like modify big trucks, and that would be in USA. And that show was cool. So that actually show us how many local people in USA actually are truck drivers. Moving on. So we talk about how they would transport the good, how containers was made, a little bit of the history. So at this current moment in the worldwide, who is actually leading this sector? Which world is actually dominating on this market? Any idea, any guess from the audience? Stop talking, please. Stop disturbing me. So, the big concept. So how are we going to rank these countries? I came across data online, and some 6 of these aspects is going to be the quality of transport infrastructures, efficiency and clearance process. Please note that while transferring countries, you are crossing borders, and borders require a clearance process. Ease of arranging competitive price shipment, competence and quality of logistics service, ability to track shipment, timeline of the shipment actually. So let's see. So to start with, on a global scale, Germany is the first one, followed by Holland, Belgium, UK on the fourth position, Singapore, Sweden, Norway, Luxembourg, US state, and Japan on the 10th position. And when you look at this country, do they not seem to like leading the world economy actually? Great answers, is it? Moving to the next slide. Why is efficient global logistics important to firm? Why do we actually need it? Why do a firm actually need its raw material on time? So here are like 5 answers. Advantage to a low cost. Of course, everyone would like to sell their product on a competitive price. And one of them would be having a shipment, give them a low cost. Increased market meaning increased revenue opportunity. Global logistics is now vital for separating enterprise decision making, including forecast and demand planning. Improve customer service through saving time on orders. Inventory can be reduced through just-in-time shipment. So instead of having, as we discussed earlier, instead of having a storage unit or facilities, we can easily have the GIT shipment. Thank you very much. I believe our ship made it on the port. Any questions from the audience?